guys, how's it going? Welcome to this week's recap video. Had a few different type videos this past week because we were able to go to Chicago area for the Aquascape Pond Tour.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. We had a fantastic time.
I was not prepared for the scale of Aqualand.
Me either. I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't expect like...
Well, I kind of knew that some of that stuff was there. I knew they had a big pond out front, and I knew they had offices and stuff. But when you get there and you see a basketball court upstairs and a soccer field, like upstairs in the warehouse, it just blew me away seeing it all. Yeah, I wasn't prepared.
It was really nice, and we were there for 2 full days, and we were able to shoot through 3 videos in those 2 full days. So I thought that was pretty good because that also included half a day was a meet and greet, and then we had the gala. So yeah, we really kind of packed it in, but got to see some really beautiful ponds.
Peggy's garden.
Peggy's was definitely a highlight. Yeah,
I wasn't prepared for that either, and that wasn't even part of our like scheduled thing.
No, it was a bonus.
I think she texted Greg, or Greg was texting with her, and she was like, "Yeah, you guys should come by." Imagine if we didn't go to that one.
Remember when we pulled in? I was like, "Whoa, I've got to do a standalone video.
Is this what heaven looks like?"
Yeah, like this is crazy, especially coming from what we're dealing with right now. Yeah. I mean, many of you know that we are dealing with some crazy range fires. The air quality is horrible. I mean, we flew into like this, you know, the whole valley is just full of smoke. In fact, they are planning possibly, did you see, I texted you, Aaron, that screenshot from Idaho Power. They're planning some possible planned power outages for this evening because we're supposed to get 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts and more lightning.
They've shut down our interstate like 3 times now. Yeah. So it's not great.
Our house is not in imminent danger. But they're close. They're closer than any fire has ever been.
Nor would it probably ever be unless it was like, it'd have to be like a perfect combination of things where the fire was close, but also there'd have to be winds, like high winds. That even then, we have so much irrigated pasture land between us.
And the river.
Yeah. So I don't know that it could. You can't say that it could never. But it'd be weird. They usually don't, for areas like ours, there's too much green around for it to catch. Yeah. Basically, on our end, we're dealing with the high smoke and heat. Yeah.
So today's 106, but then it looks like the next 9 days are in the 90s, and then it looks like we're bumping back up maybe. But anyway, it's pretty miserable outside. We're kind of just keeping things alive, but going to the Chicago area where they get more rain, and it's definitely more humid there. Not when we were there, though.
No, it
was beautiful when we were there, but it was so lush, and like walking through those gardens, it was something that I would have to fight for here, and it would be a constant battle to have a garden that looked like that.
You couldn't.
Well, maybe the thing that would get us there is if all of our trees get mature without blowing over in a windstorm or catching on fire, or those sorts of things. If we could get some trees to put on some mature size to where we actually got some good deep shade, we might be able to maybe.
I don't think trees do mature to that size here. I think that trees get stunted here for a variety of reasons. But, she's got like those, 70, 80 foot tall oak trees. And you just don't have that here. No. Trees don't get that big because it's too harsh.
The thing about what she's done too is that and we're going to talk about her video, I think, in this recap, but they've limbed up those oak trees to where it's just like this very lofty canopy. So it feels enormous underneath all of those trees. Yeah. It was beautiful. We had a great time. And we're just trying to keep our stuff from like perishing at the moment. Anyway, let's move on to more fun things to talk about, I guess. First video from this past week was our July garden tour. We had a little break in weather, and I don't know if it was overcast due to smoke or overcast being truly overcast, but we had a moment where we thought we got to get out there because I think we might have enough time to shoot a tour when it's not full glaring hot sun, and I think we got it
orange as well when the sun comes out with all the smoke in the sky. If it's overcast, it's a little bit better, but when the sun comes out, things do not look good.
No, they don't. Like in the middle of the day, on days like this, like I just want to, I don't want to look at anything. Yeah, Thumberry Bake Shop said, my word, you've come a long way in a short amount of time. Question about prunings for Forsythia. Can you do it? I know it sets buds for the next year, but have one that's not very cohesive and it needs to be moved. I just don't want to unalive it. You will not hurt it by pruning it. If you have something that's doing something weird and you want to prune it up so it's aesthetically more pleasing, I would sacrifice the blooms for it. It is true that they set buds during the year before for its next year's spring blooms. Excuse me. So it's likely it's already set bloom, so you will be cutting some off. So if that's something you don't want to forfeit, you could wait until next year after it's done blooming and then do all your pruning. But the best time to move it would be late fall or early spring. So I would prune it up, move it. Just, next year might be kind of an off year for it, but then at least you'll have it in a spot you like it and you'll like the shape. I think that's more worth it than having some flowers for a short amount of time. BMD said, what do you use for spring aphids? A variety of different things. We have lacewings that we released, which are an aphid predator. And we've had to kind of up our spray game because the biologicals that we released, they were mostly for thrips and aphids a little bit, but we've had an incredible explosion of spider mites, like worse than we have ever had in my entire life. Like the worst. And I think it's a combination of the dry heat, all the powder dust that we have back here behind the barn. They love dry, dusty conditions. Yeah. So we have a layer of dust on everything out in our landscape. And so it's perfect conditions for the mites. And then all the wind we've had spreads them around. That's how they spread. And it's incredible. Like I was out cutting back perfectly gorgeous perennials last night that I would not be cutting back right now, but I had to because they were so covered in spider mites. That's a whole different tangent. We've done a video about spider mites and the different things we will spray. We usually start off with a more benign spray, like a more organic spray. There's still a broad spectrum insecticide, so they will kill pollinators, so you have to be careful with them, just like you would with the synthetic. But you have to rotate for a pest like that because they build up an immunity. So you have to use something different every week. So we might do a spinosad and then a neem. We do the same thing for aphids. So I don't know what he sprayed this week, but
wasn't that the question, is for aphids?
Yeah, I kind of devolved into a spider mites, but it kind of is the same thing. We use sprays for both.
Yeah.
So we usually do a spinosad or neem based, something like that for aphids and also for mites. We just couldn't, the biologicals that we released, they can't keep up. They would not be able to keep up with the amount of damage we have. And they're defoliating plants. You should see the limelight hydrangeas in front of the house. Like leaves are gone on 2 of them. And then all the impatiens I planted below are like white with spider mite damage. It's horrible. There's some really crappy looking pockets out in our garden right now. And it's hard, a little bit hard not to be discouraged when you come home from such beauty to such like crap, disaster in our garden. Not all areas are like that. But I think I probably can find some kindred spirits out there that are dealing with the same kind of thing. And it's just something you have to deal with and go on. And I know it won't always look like that. It's fine.
You forget that July is difficult.
July is hard. Every July.
Early in the season, you battle the weeds. Yeah. And you're kind of like, oh man, we'll never get over the weeds. But then you kind of have this lull for a moment where you're like, okay, we're doing this. Yeah. And then July hits.
I know. And then you're like, why do we live here?
Yeah.
We were all talking about it. We went out to dinner with my family last night. We were all like, can we just all pick up and go somewhere? Like the only reason we are here is because our family is here. Yeah. I don't know. Every place has its pros and cons. Right. It's true. It is. You deal with different things, different places. So I guess we just get to share the experience of this. Lucky you guys for that. Alex said, hi, Laura. I noticed as I watched through your videos that you will mention, oh, this plant is not invasive and is legal to plant here, but this plant is restricted. Do you know that off the top of your head? I do now. Or do you have a resource you use to find out what you're allowed to plant? My knowledge for that comes from working at a garden center here in Oregon. I know what's restricted in our state and what's not based on what we were able to order. So you kind of just learn that. A lot of times it'll say, like, if you get on the Proven Winners website, for example, and you go type in barberry, you look at the description and it will say restricted in, and it'll list the states they're restricted in, that they're invasive in. Oregon is not one of those because barberry is not invasive here. And then there are some varieties of buddleia that are sterile that we can plant here in Oregon, but the plant group as a whole, there's a lot of varieties we can't carry in garden centers, nor it's illegal to plant them because they're termed invasive.
But there's nobody that's coming to get you.
No, I mean, I think that's mostly for people selling.
Yeah.
Like you can't sell these here in Oregon. So Rhea Jones said, what is the ground cover in front of the serviceberry? That's a coral berry at 106. That's Creeping Veronica. It's awesome. It's evergreen. Looks amazing in the wintertime. GJ MW said, gorgeous. How many hours do you do behind the scenes of maintaining your garden to keep it looking so beautiful? Well, it's not just me. We've got Paul here full-time, Bethany here part-time, and then we do have Grace here part-time. She's going to college this fall, but she's just working for us for a couple of months. Part-time, kind of, right? Is she part-time or full-time?
Close to full-time.
Close to full-time. So they're out there, like Bethany primarily does watering during the days. Paul is mostly working on drip projects, spray projects, things like that.
Right now he's working on spray projects.
And then Grace is running around getting the weeds and things like that. And then I do, like in the evenings, a lot. I will go through and fill up the gator a few times and go through, like last night I did that. Every time I can steal some moments outside, I will. And I've been trying to kick it in even more lately because the most pleasant times to be out there are in the evening. So if I can get out and get like the full sun areas done when it's really a lot more pleasant so that nobody else has to do it during the day, I feel like that's the better way to go. I don't know. It's a joint group effort for sure. We spend a lot of time on it. Lindsay said, can you divide Russian sage? If so, do you just cut a chunk out and move it wherever you want? I'm assuming there's a best time, but is that a big deal or what could I go for it? Best time is in the fall or early spring. I used to do divisions in early spring. A lot of people will dig the whole plant up and use a knife to cut it into different chunks. But you can dig out a chunk. That's totally fine. Leave what you want in the ground and just dig out a piece that you want to take. And they do kind of spread a little bit around like the mother plant and you can dig those out as well. Those are easy to move. Carrie said, thank you for enduring the heat to give us a tour. The drone footage was so very lovely. Question, was there no fruit in the orchard this year? Nope, there was not. We had one freak 27-degree night that took it all. I was bummed for about a day, and then I thought, you know what?
That's good. One less thing.
One less thing this fall. I don't have to harvest or think about how to process all this fruit. It's fine. We'll have plenty of other things going on. Thankfully, we live in a very highly orchard-esque word. We have a lot of orchards in our area, so there's a lot of farm stands and we can go get the things that we really want if we're missing it. Debbie said, where was Aaron standing when he was piloting the drone? I'm always trying to find where he is whenever there is drone footage.
I think I was under the portico.
Were you?
When I was flying the drone for that.
You fly from inside a lot too.
Yeah, I'll fly it from inside, but
yeah.
I think then I might have been under the portico.
You should hide in a different spot every time.
Yeah.
It's like where's
visible?
Waldo?
Yeah.
Sort
visible,
of situation. Kenda Studdenmeyer said, does the orange thyme smell like oranges? Not like overtly to me. Next video was Antique Shopping Day with my mom and Monica. Yes, that was a day that was supposed to be, 109 or something, 108 that day. So we decided we need to not be out doing this stuff. Let's go somewhere where it's air conditioned, and we had a great day. Annie Key Lady said, do you guys ever barter at the antique stores or do you pay the full ticket price? I used to barter. I don't anymore. I just pay what they want for it most of the time.
Bartering is pretty common though.
I think it is. My mom would never do it, and I used to barter for her. And I think as I've gotten older, I don't know, maybe I feel a little bit weirder about it. Yeah, but I don't typically. Denise said, where are you ladies shopping? What city? We were in Boise and Caldwell, Idaho for those shops. Anna said, I love the episodes when you shop with your mom and Monica. Is there a favorite project or hobby that you do with your dad? I would say we have a really good time talking about plants and gardens. Also, any kind of cooking project is fun. It's fun to be in there with my dad cooking because he does it differently than my mom and I were so used to it that we just we multitask like crazy and we get things done really fast. But my dad takes a very slow approach. He pours himself a drink and then, sorry, there's a fly. Pours himself a drink and then he, do you see it?
No.
It's right there. It might be a mosquito. Did I get it? Anyway, so he pours himself a drink and then he preps all of his ingredients and has them in separate little bowls, like you see on a cooking show. But then we both like to taste food throughout. My mom is not a taster. She does not taste what she's cooking. My dad and I will taste every single step several times, and it's so fun to do that. Susan said, what is the brand of the pasta you were looking at when you said it comes in pumpkin pasta? I don't know. I would have to look back at that bag. I would have to go to that video and pause over when I showed it. So maybe you could do that. It's good though. My mom made, it was a garlic bacon pasta and she used the pumpkin pasta in there. And even my dad, who's not like a massive pasta fan, but he loved it. And then I made the same recipe, but I used spaghetti because that's what the recipe called for. I didn't even think to use my pumpkin pasta for it. I have to make it again. So good. Jan said, did anyone get the brand and scent of that spray? It is, I can tell you the brand. Hang on. Antica Farmacista Collection. Does that make sense? Luxury room sprays. Oh, the Santorini is so good. And then also we did the lemon, verbena, and cedar or something like that. Also good. Yeah, there's other flavors that I don't like quite as much. I think the Santorini is my favorite though. My mom and I both have each of those sprays. Sarah said, I love your channel. Sometimes it sounds like you call your sister Monica Monicus. Is there a story behind that? I don't know if there's a story. It just turned into Monicus.
Yeah.
But it's Monicus, not Monicas.
Yeah, it's not a Z, it's an S.
Monicus. Yeah. Rachel said, when you guys laughed and said dude's car got a little ding-dong, was that a reference to The Big Lebowski? I sure hope so because it's my favorite movie. Yes, it was. I've actually never seen that movie, but my dad and brother quote that movie all the time to where I could quote it too without even having ever seen it. I should probably know those things before I quote things.
Yeah.
Okay. Next video was I got to tour some amazing ponds in Chicago. So that was day one. That was the day before the actual pond event. And we got to go on a little bit of a private tour. Greg and Brian and Ed, they took us around to ponds that they had put together. And we were with Kevin from Epic Gardening and Jacques from Jacques in the Garden. And it was really fun. We had such a good day. We started at like 9 and we didn't get back to our hotel until like 9:30, I think, that night. We were just like, we went for it that day and we had the best time. Heather Aldrin said, this was so fun. Inquiring Chicago area minds want to know, which Chicago style pizza did you try? It was such a pleasure meeting you guys. Oh, I got to meet you at the meet and greet. Which one was it? Do you know what brand it was?
I think it started with a G or a B. I forget. Yeah, it wasn't amazing. The sauce was good. The sauce tasted fresh.
It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like great. It was just like kind of middle of the road. It needed salt.
Did it?
And herbs.
The crust was kind of like cornmeal-y tasting.
I think it was just like the bottom, like they use on the peel to get the pizza off, right?
I don't know, but it was okay.
I was pleasantly surprised with the texture. I thought I was going to hate it because of the texture, because I'm not a huge pizza person anyway. I like cracker thin crust. Yeah. Like it's a different food category than actual pizza. And so I thought it was going to be this like super thick, bready, floppy mess that I do not really prefer. And it was surprisingly like it held its shape. Yeah. Like it was cooked really well, but it really wasn't my favorite. And neither was Portillo's or whatever that was.
Yeah. Chicago beef and hot dogs.
I don't know. I don't know if it's because I'm biased, because I don't really consider us a part of Pacific Northwest, even though we are. Yeah. We're just like a desert all by ourselves over here kind of deal. But Pacific Northwest food
is pretty good.
Is the best to me. It's just like it leans so much on so many vegetable and herb flavors and like really well done meat. And I don't know.
Not well done meat,
and
but
like done to perfection meat.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just like the flavors. It could be just because we're used to it. Yeah. I don't know. Ann Couch said, glad you guys got a chance to visit Illinois. I'm from Chicago, and this was the year for cicadas. I hear them in your video. Did you get a chance to see the cicadas? We got to see the little exoskeletons, but I could hear them. I didn't see them, though. I did see two things for the first time in my life, though. I saw a cardinal at Greg's mom's house. And Jacques' partner, Katrina, had binoculars. She's a huge birding. Like, she loves to bird. She's really fun to talk to and super smart and, like, loves to learn about nature and stuff. Anyway, so she had binoculars, and I got to see it, like, in real life. And we also got to see fireflies.
Yeah, I didn't get to see that.
Yeah, right? Is that what they're called? Fireflies. Yeah. I got to see 3 of them. Yeah, at Aquascape. So those were firsts for me. King said, love me a good bridge. I know you talked about one over the stream edition. Do you think you'll use stone for a bridge or do a wooden bridge? I think we're talking stone, which yes.
You think so?
I think so. Or it's going to be a low profile wood bridge. Okay. But it's not going to be like a big, like, sure, curved number.
Yeah.
Kim said, do you get to see a cardinal while in the Midwest? I sure did. Anne said, seeing these ponds was such a treat. Thank you for taking us along. Question, Chicago has some brutal winters. How do the homeowners of these ponds care for their pond plants and fish during the winter season, as it appears each of the ponds we saw had many of both?
No idea.
I imagine a lot of them are dug to a depth where the fish will be fine. I think like here they said 3 feet is, they said they could go even less than that. Ours is a little over 3 feet, I think, at its deepest. Anyway, so as long as the fish have a way to get to the bottom and then they keep the water on, like the pumps on, and oftentimes people will through the winter time to keep the oxygen going, or you keep like a little floating heater in there to keep a section of the ice from like icing over, so oxygen can still pass through. The fish are fine, but I can't speak to experience, obviously, of the Chicago area. What are they, a zone 5?
Yeah, I think so.
It's a little colder than us, but not like tremendously different, but they do get a lot more snow, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jenny said, this was an amazing tour. Laura, are you and Aaron rethinking what you want for the Dream Stream? Maybe a plunge pool as well, or the deep section for the kids to swim more seating areas? You know what? We are I'm leaving it up to Brian. I saw his mock-up for the design, and I think it's going to be beautiful. And, when we walked through it, too, when they came down earlier this season, it made me so excited. Cammie said, how do you calculate how many fish a pond can grow so it's not too overcrowded? Like, how many could you put in yours right now? A lot more than we've got, I think. And I think they kind of keep their numbers in check a little bit, because I think that a lot of the eggs get eaten or, whatever. So not a lot of the babies will make it. Well, they eat the eggs, too.
Right.
Like, they eat the eggs. And only the only babies that survive are ones that are hidden kind of in plant material, stuff like that. So I think it kind of balances itself to my understanding. But Janet said, what a fun day. They all look amazing. Which was your favorite? Well, in this video, my favorite was Brian's garden. And Brian's garden and Peggy's garden kind of reminded me of each other in a way that they were both very cozy, but it was a very different scale. Brian's is in kind of a standard city lot, and Peggy's is in this like vast expanse of space with the huge trees, but the pond, like the water features themselves, sort of reminded me of each other. And I loved Brian's space because I think it shows such an amazing amount of design prowess. I don't know another word for it, but showing how when you've got somebody who has got that brain, which Brian does, he can figure out how to create this amazing space and make it feel so much bigger than it actually is. And there was pathways through the back of it. The water feature was awesome. It felt like more than one water feature because it was kind of in different sections, 3 different sections. And then there was the pavilion. Oh, yeah. There was a pavilion, the outdoor fireplace, and then there was a seating area with a fire pit down below. So there was a lot of different things going on, and that was definitely my favorite. And you can tell plant people versus non-plant people for sure. Well, and the second one we went to was a fairly new-ish install, so the plants were babies. Yeah. And that's the thing too, like that one's going to be it's going to be crazy. It's going to be amazing once the plants have a chance to grow and fill in. And I loved the stream one too. They were all really cool with the plunge pool at the end. Yeah. Because that showed me what to expect for our stream.
Sure.
And I was like, what? This is what it's going to be like. Oh my gosh. The next one was one of the most beautiful gardens I've ever visited. And this was Peggy's garden. Was it like north of Chicago a little bit? I can't remember exactly, but it was out in the country. I don't know. I didn't even ask her. There's so many questions. I've been texting with her, so I should text her and ask her what size her space is.
Wasn't it like
total.
4 or 5 acres?
Was it like the total lot size of 4 to 5 acres? Well, that gives me a better idea then. Yeah. It was one of those where I was actually tried to FaceTime my mom and she wouldn't answer. So I was like, FaceTime. I'm like, you will answer your phone so I can just show you this space because I don't know. I felt my inspiration cup being completely filled. And when we pulled in, I told Aaron, I'm starting a new video. Like, I'm going to abandon this first one. I'll finish it later. But this one needs its own time because, yeah. And Peggy was such a champ. She just crushed that tour. Yeah. I met her in the driveway. In about 2 minutes, I asked her, can I mic you up? Can we walk through together? Sure. Yeah. And she just did it. And we just rolled. Like, we had known each other for like all of 5 minutes when we started the tour.
Less than that.
She did an awesome job. Yeah. Sharon said, what a beautiful labor of love. In what area of Chicagoland is this beautiful garden located? I live in downstate Illinois. I'd love to tour it sometime. I don't even know the address.
No, I don't.
We were just in a van.
Nor does she probably want it.
Yeah, probably not. She is involved in lots of different tours, though. So if you get yourself connected to Aquascape in some way and know when their tours are happening, it's likely at some point she'll be on one of those. Jenny said, it's like an arboretum. I'd never leave. How many acres is the beautiful garden? 4 to 5. Joelle said, does the owner have an Instagram page? Would love to watch her work. I don't know if she does. I'll ask her. Angela said, thank you so much for bringing us along with you for this tour. I was in awe right along with you. I'd love to hear Erin's thoughts on the space.
It was amazing. I mean, it was incredible. I said that at the beginning of the video. It just, I was not prepared for a space that was that nice and just being a private garden, like someone's garden. I love the pool. I think that was nice. I liked everything about it. I loved the trees. So much of it was in shade. It's like what I would want our garden to look like.
Maybe one day.
Maybe.
Yeah. Also, the sheer amount of hostas and ferns that didn't have any wind damage or burn or anything like that. They look so good. What were some of your favorite aspects of Peggy's garden, and what would you like to replicate at your home? Well, one thing I pointed out at the very beginning of the video, and you mentioned to me afterward, Erin, is the large drifts of things.
Yeah.
And that's something, we do pretty sizable drifts of things, but not like 30 Empress Wu hostas in one spot, you know, which I don't think we've got our garden quite set up like what we need to have our garden for is like new introductions and plants being sent, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like I could pick a few things though. What we need to do is pick a few things that we want big amounts of.
Yeah.
And maybe just do it with those things and then leave some space for other things, because we will eventually run out of space out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And we're getting closer and closer. Right now, I want to say that we want to do huge drifts of echinacea because the echinacea looks awesome right now during the heat. More pink echinacea. Pink brings the temperature down.
Yeah.
Jennifer said, how does she keep all of this watered? Is there drip irrigation and a sprinkler system set up? I think it's mostly watered by rain, but there is some drip elements. She did say she added a row of drip behind those impatiens that are at the end of the pool, because otherwise she would have, impatiens are total babies, and she'd have to be out there watering those, so that's helped out quite a lot.
I saw a couple sprinklers.
Yeah, there were some risers here and there, and so I don't know if there's some areas, and maybe she's got them throughout if she needs to, but I do know there was some of that, but they do get quite a lot more rain than we get. Linda said, where is this spectacular garden? Is it open to the public or by invitation only? How lucky you are to have visited and witnessed the beauty, Laura. I do feel like I was lucky. It is in the Chicago area and it is private. So Pat said, loving your videos. When you meet Peggy, there's a plant with huge bell-like flowers on them. Would you know what they are? They are beautiful. And then the next question is, I missed the name of the plant at 3041. Did anyone catch that? Are they angel's trumpet? Is that what they're called? Hold on, I'll get a real name for you. Yes, Brugmansia. Couldn't think of that off the top of my head. The next video was the tour of Aqualand in Chicago. I started that tour the evening. Like, we did the tour of ponds, and then I did Peggy's tour, and then I started the Aqualand tour that night and finished it the next day. So it was sort of it's getting darker and darker. And my only regret about that video is I didn't have all my camera equipment, because we were moving, you guys. Like, I hardly even got any pictures.
Yeah.
Like, my pictures and video on my phone, I hardly ever had my phone out. I just had my vlog camera out. I wish I would have switched to a phone inside when I was doing the tour of the retail area, because GoPros just are not good at capturing nighttime footage. But phones do a lot better. But it all kind of came together in a cohesive-ish way, and I think it showed what our time was like. But we started there in the design gardens behind Aqualand's warehouse, and it was beautiful. There was, I don't know how many ponds set up back there just for inspiration to give you ideas. We had our pizza back there, and then we toured the warehouse, and the warehouse was massive. I had no idea. I mean, how tall was the pallet racking? It was so tall. There was so much in there. And then we got to tour the rec area upstairs, which had the soccer field and the volleyball is what they call it.
Yeah.
It's like volleyball, but you bank it off the walls or hit it off the walls. I was not good at that. And then they have a basketball court. They had a full gym, a big old break room that had foosball and ping pong and darts and all kinds of stuff. And then we ended up, there was a balcony that overlooks their huge pond in front, which is 600,000 gallons, massive. And then we got to climb up a ladder and go see their living roof, and it was at golden hour. It was like the most magical thing. Then I came down, and then we went into like the fish room. I showed you through the retail area, and then I think we ended up at the meet and greet the next morning, and then the gala that night. Melly Ellie said, do you know who founded Aquascapes? Greg Whitstock did.
He was like 20.
Yeah, many years ago. Kathy said, oh my gosh, how did I not know about this event? I would have loved to have attended. I live in the Chicagoland area. Did you post this, or was it advertised through Aquascape? So we posted about it one time. I think Kevin posted about it once. And I think
tickets sold pretty quick.
Yeah, they did. And so we just stopped advertising because the tickets were gone. So we advertised in what, like January, or?
Yeah.
It's early. Karen said, maybe this is a dumb question, but are all the rocks real? It's not a dumb question at all, because I would wonder that as well. Or just some of them made to look like real rocks. So in that huge pond area up front, those are all real. One of the rocks, Ed was telling us, weighed 47,000 pounds to create the waterfall that we got to go behind and look at the water, falling from behind it. The only things that were not actual rock, the urn right in front of those display gardens, that's actually stacked stone. It looks like it's a fabricated urn, which they have since created a mold so that they could make urns that weren't actually stacked stone. But Brian put that together, and that was kind of their prototype. So I think those giant urns that I showed you running kind of near the big pond area, I think those are not real rock. Those are fabricated. I don't know if they're resin or something like that. But they're pretty neat looking. But most of the rocks, all the rocks used in the big pond areas are real. Patrice said, what a great cause and stunning event. It was like a trip home for me. I really miss Chicago. Laura, you look beautiful. No dresses required. Yes, I did not wear a dress. I took a dress. I put it on before the event, and I was just like, nope.
Couldn't make yourself do it.
It's not who I am. I'm just going to not do that, because then I won't be comfortable, and I want to be comfortable, you know. How did you like Chicago? What we saw of it, I really liked.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
I mean, we never went into the city.
We were in a beautiful bubble.
Yeah, we were in like the suburbs. So when we say, like, Aqualand is not in Chicago, it's in St. Charles.
Is it?
St. Charles, Illinois, I think.
Or Geneva. We were in we stayed at the Harrington in Geneva.
In Geneva, yeah.
And then, yeah.
So, but it's like the Chicagoland area, so it's just easy to say we went to Chicago.
Right. Mickey said that roof, what did Aaron think of it?
I actually didn't climb up it. I thought it was cool in the video, but there's a lot of people going up and down the ladder.
Yeah. You're not afraid of ladders. You spent a lot of your years on ladders.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. MB Living Life said, so what did you think of the humidity? You picked a good week because it wasn't as humid as it has been. Definitely a challenge to garden in during full sun days. The chairs in the water looked like a really relaxing way to enjoy a summer day. It was relaxing. When we were there, the humidity was not bad at all.
No, it was really nice.
They all said that you are lucky. I don't know why we're dealing with this lapse in humidity, but it was kind of felt like we were here. Yeah. Except for not as hot. So it was
like 30 degrees cooler.
Yeah, it was a wonderful break because here at home it was 110 one of the days, 108 one of the days. So it was super nice. The last video is the recap. So questions from the recap from last week. Jennifer said, do you have a dedicated video to pest prevention / treatment? I've acquired so much knowledge over the years of watching your videos, but it'd be nice to have a one-stop shop for reference. Thanks again for all you and Aaron do. I love your channel. We probably should put a new one together.
Yeah. We've
put together like spider mite video. We have talked about aphids, but it hasn't been a specific one. We've talked about budworms. I don't know if we've done a specific one on that either.
It's complicated. You can't make a one-stop shop. I mean, you could talk for hours because the way that you prevent things on certain plants, like you can spray harsher chemicals on some plants because they don't bloom and there's no pollinators you have to worry about. So it's like,
true.
You can just like take care of the issue and you can tell people like
boxwoods. They're not blooming right now.
Yeah.
You can spray whatever and it's not going to hurt anything.
Yeah. But like you can't spray that same stuff on like a blooming flowering tree or on your
roses.
Roses. Yeah. Yeah. So you want to tell people like, well, be really careful if you're using this at this time on this plant
it feels like a loaded subject almost.
It's totally loaded. And there's so much nuance that people would love to jump down your throat and be like, you're killing the environment. But it's like, well, okay, but everything's nuanced. And if you do it at a certain time on certain plants and you just know these things and you try to be careful,
And those people who jump down your throat, I'd love to look through their sheds.
Yeah. And see what kind of stuff they've got.
Yeah. People who say they're organic and say, and preach that. A lot of the time, like I hate to burst everyone's bubble, but it's not like that.
Yeah. There's a lot of hypocrisy.
There is a lot. We've learned that through the years. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
We try to be as open about it as possible and as not as rigid.
Well, because we're all trying to do the same thing. It's like you don't want to harm the environment. You don't want to harm pollinators. And so you do what you can do to mitigate those risks whenever you can.
Yeah.
But so it's just, everything's nuanced. And I think almost all normal people get that, because like 98% of people are rational and can make, rational decisions. And then there's that 2% of people who are just like black and white. Everything's black and white. And, if you were to use Roundup on anything ever, then you're the devil,
Yeah. Okay. Said our
note.
piece. Jackie said, where did you buy the fan for your Gator? Is it battery run? Did you get that at Home Depot? It's a DeWalt.
Or online. Yeah, it's just a DeWalt fan.
And it uses the batteries that all of our power tools do. And it takes for, like, I put a battery in that fan, and it's the same battery. Never changed it this whole summer.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it still says 3 bars whenever I check it.
Wow.
So, and I use it quite a lot. Like, I use it even when I'm driving around in the Gator and creating wind. I need extra wind right now.
Everybody sells one though. So if you have Milwaukee tools or Ryobi or whatever, just get whatever brand of stuff
so
you've got.
handy to have it, just to make you feel a little bit better in between, going out and doing stuff. Mary said at 8 minutes in the recap video, you talked about winter watering. I want to run an experiment that uses Gaillardia in a pot over our winter in 6A, Southern Ontario. Would I need to water them, or is our snowfall enough? Kind of just depends, because if you're getting snowfall on top and nothing's melting, that root ball is not getting any water. It's being insulated, but it's not getting water. I would still splash water on. I keep ours on. Well, I'm going to be much more diligent about it this year. Every 2 to 3 weeks, splashing water all the way around the root ball. That's something to think about too. You can't just put a little water in on one side. You've got to moisten that whole thing to keep them all happy. Tina said, so other than the tiger eye sumac, is there any other plant you regret planting, and why? I planted a blue dune grass once that I regretted a bit. That one spread really quickly. It was beautiful, like icy blue, bold leaf grass, but it was spreading everywhere in our lawn until voles ate it. Voles ate the roots out from underneath that ornamental grass, and I could not have been happier. Which we currently are having a vole issue, I guess, in our front lawn. Where'd you find that?
I saw them. I just saw them like running around in the grass. Yeah, and then you can see the trails. Yeah.
My parents are having the same problem. We're being overrun by voles right now. Dang. Tony said, how many watering stations do you have? How do you keep track of all of them? Do you have a printout to remind you which station and how much and how long?
Yeah, I do. Yes, and yes, and yes. And we have around 100
zones running right now.
Yeah. But we've said this a lot of times. So many of our zones are like 2 pots, or like one zone is the cold frames, or another zone is the pots around, like 4 pots around the Hartley. So I think our thing can do like 8 zones at a time. And there's a lot of situations where I can have 8 zones going currently, and there's, no lack of water pressure, because it's like, well, you can do another zone is like the 10 pots along the east side fence. So
a lot of small zones,
but it's nice to be able to just up the water on just one thing, and not have the pots connected to like a grass zone where it's like the grass you don't want to water every day, but the pots need it like twice a day. So the control is amazing.
UG4223 says, since you don't pick the questions, do you still read comments at all? You're so busy, it's understandable if you don't. It's a good thing you have such a great team. Love your channel. It's my TV show. Can't wait for the next episode. I don't pick the questions for this, but I do read comments usually the first day a video comes out. And then it drops off too. Like the amount of comments start to drop off. There's just no way with the amount of videos we put out that we would continue to be able to read them all throughout time, Yeah. I used to read and respond to every single one, and I felt horrible when we started to have to not. But you kind of just have to not. Or you need to do less videos so you have more time. Last question. Gretchen said, I would love to have one of those garden markers that don't wear off. Do you sell those? And if you don't, could you do one with your logo on it? I put tags on all my zinnias, and all the ink washed off. And all the ink eventually washes off with these. Do I have one right here? Probably put a picture on the screen. They're just called a garden marker.
We do have it on the website.
Do we?
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely last longer than a Sharpie, but they still are 1 season use, and you gotta do it again. And you guys, that is it for today's recap video. Thank you so much for all the questions. Thank you for everything. Thank you for all the comments and watching our videos this week. I hope you all enjoyed them, and I hope you're having a good start to your week. We will see you in the next one.